welcome. I hope you enjoyed seeing the bars get fitted. That worked out really well, and it was great to come to the workshop today. See the bike sort of much lower down at the top, which looks really good, I think. So I hope you're enjoying that look. We're going to stick at the front this week, as promised, and I've got these fork gaiters to fit on. So hopefully no drilling, no craziness, no holes, no grinding, bodging, cutting, anything, hopefully. I'm just going to put these on and revel in their rubbery glory. So let's get to it. These fork gaiters, basically they're just rubber tubes. And they fit simply just over the fork stanchions, and they protect them from damage. And they're very good. I don't know, I mean obviously for styling or whatever, they sort of dropped out of favour. But considering you've got such a lovely finished polished surface directly exposed to all the road grit and how expensive they are, you know, I don't know why they all don't have gaiters. Perhaps I'm just too old. Now, the only problem is, obviously, because they're a tube, you can't really, there's no way to get it on without taking the forks out. And some people, there's a moulding seam in these usually, so they slit them, put them around and glue them back together. And I'm sure that works fine, but because we're just doing so much bolty stuff, we're going to drop these forks out and put these on. And I think the idea of dropping the front off their bike frightens a lot of people, but it really is simple. I know I shouldn't say this before, because who knows what's going to happen, but it's really not the big deal you might think it is. So I just got it up on a stand at the front, so we can take this to bits a bit. So we'll do that right now. So you chill out over there. Now the mudguard, obviously in our case, is not too difficult. I'm going to stop saying not too difficult, because that's going to bite me, isn't it? But this one's just finger tight at the moment. We're also going to change this a little today, just to lower it down a bit at least. And maybe even try the old ones, because I know some people have been asking about how these tyres would work with the original mudguard. And really, there's not a lot going on here. There's those fork caps I talked about last week, which may or may not be for protection during transit. Although I've spent some thought thinking about that. Not much, but... And the fact that they don't have any part numbers moulded in them makes me think that maybe they are just a packing thing to stop damage to the fork tops during transit. Although they just look too well made to be such a random thing. But almost everything on a motorbike that's genuine has always got a part number moulded in, and they don't have it, so maybe they are transit caps. But it doesn't matter, because if you like them, you like them, and if you don't want them, you don't have to have them. Let's pop them aside. And after that, all that really holds the forks in is a clamp bolt in the top, a lower one, and obviously the brake caliper and ABS sensor are attached. So we're going to undo the whole caliper bracket and pop this off, which I think is two 12mm bolts. Feels like there's thread lock on these, which is always a good idea. Now, just better check, is the ABS sensor on the caliper bracket or the fork? And I think it's on the caliper bracket. which is good. So I don't want to go ripping that off. I've also got the new brake pads to go in here. Yeah, there's quite a lot of thread lock on those. Like. There we go, nice and easy. There's the ABS sensor. I think it's called a Hall effect sensor. And it just senses those holes in the ABS ring. And basically it just sends a little pulse to the brain. And it counts how fast the holes pass, so it knows how fast the wheel is going. And the computer can compare that with the rear wheel. And find out if the front may be locked or about to lock. And they're quite worn, but we'll replace these. So that's clipped to the yoke. Now I can also see this headlamp is held on with a plastic moulding. But I think this plastic moulding isn't attached to the fork stanchion. It looks like it's just slid up it. But we're going to find that out right now. I think this is the size because I just checked. But obviously, I'm going to have to take the wheel out. Now this should be finger tight as well. Well, it was last time I did it. Oh. Should pop that back through there. Now, so that wasn't that tight actually. Right, so there's nothing else clipped to this. And theoretically, we do this top one, and that fork's coming straight out. See if I can do it with this edge. Bit tighter at this end. And the access is a bit harder as well. Allen head socket bolts would have been a lot better. I've got them at home. I wish I'd bought them now. But I think we're going to get away with it. Okay, it's loose. Let's check that you can see. So just keep a grip on that because it might just love to drop out. So both loose. We'll give this a twist. Okay, it's turning. Here it comes. Just checking for any damage on it. And there shouldn't be. But, whoa! There we go, one fork stanchion. And it's as easy as that. So if you ever thought taking the front end off your bike was some untouchable job, 99% of bikes, that's all there is to it. Mudguard, wheel, brake calipers, clamp bolts. And there's no front or back to this stanchion. So when it goes in, we don't have to line it up. And this stanchion also rotates in this leg, so there's no front back, as long as you actually get it on the right side, which should be impossible to get wrong, because obviously the brake bracket is there. So there's no front or back. What you've got to be careful of when you finally fit is perhaps tighten the top ones, keep the rest and the wheel loose, pump it up and down, pump the bike up and down to make sure everything's settled, and then clamp it up. So you don't clamp it up in a sort of squiggle. There we go. One fork leg. Now that, holding the headlight, oh, it's still firm actually. Oh no, there you go. So that plastic tube assembly is just trapped in there. Now, should I do the other leg and risk the whole front falling out? No. Let's do one gaiter, then we'll do the other side. So I'm going to get a cloth. I'm just going to give this a wipe. Just put a bit of my oil on. Stop it. Nice. Because of that good cleaning we got, the whole thing is quite clean. If you want to disassemble all your forks, if you look in the bottom, there's a cap head bolt, and that's what's securing this stanchion in the forks. So if you undo that, that's when it all kicks off and it will all come to pieces. But we don't need to do that at all. I'm just going to spray some of this water displacement spray on the inside. So you can't help to have a bit of oil. Now hopefully you've got a good camera angle. Okay, so that's quite a nice tight fit to the top. And what's going to happen at the bottom? Right. I can see there's a little vent hole at the bottom. So obviously as the forks move, stop it. The air has to escape, otherwise it would have burst, I imagine. Now, how am I going to get... Obviously I have to get this over the fork. I can't help but think a small flat blade screwdriver may have been helpful. No. There we go. So that bottom edge is just sitting over there, and the top is free to move, stop it a little. So really, that can go back in. So that's the back. Now the top just lines up with the top. I can't get a hold of it now. There. So I'll tighten these up enough for now, just so it holds the bike up, but we'll do the bouncy thing properly when it's back together all. There we go. Oops, I just pulled it off. Now sometimes these are fixed with zip ties or similar, but we're going to have a look whether that's necessary or not. It looks like it should be long enough, but if not, we'll pop a cable tie or a nice stainless steel finishing clip around it. There we go. Stand back and have a look. Well, hey, slick. So, Gaiters on one side, normal on the other. Let's do the other side. Obviously, there's no brake caliper this side to come off. So, bottom clamp. Top clamp. Ow. There's never a shortage of metal parts to bang your fingers on, is there? Okay. Brilliant. Just as easy. Actually, feeling that, these were greased. So whoever put that in there did grease that up to stop corrosion inside the when it's inside these plastic housings, which is very nice of them. So we'll just clean that bottom bit off. Right. Number 2. So there's that little air hole. See if I cover that up. That won't retract. There we go. So let's put the hole to the back. That was not the back. And back in. So perhaps if you're looking at this, thinking about cutting these open and supergluing them shut, perhaps just have a think how easy that was to drop the fork legs out. So lined up at the top. Fork legs don't always line up at the top. I know on the Interceptor they stick through by about 3/4 of an inch. So obviously they had a thing there with the geometry where they wanted the bike to sit at a certain level. And if they'd put the fork stanchions through any further, the front would have lifted up, obviously. And it alters the handling of the bike, because if you drop through the stanchions or have these sticking out, you'll get a quicker steering bike, but less stable. So that's something some people do. And you don't need much. You could drop them 10mm further up, and you'd immediately notice, if you're used to your bike and you took it for a ride, you'd immediately notice that it felt completely different. I think that's going to need something to stop them popping off. But when the weight of the bike is on, we'll evaluate that. How does it look? Let's come back and have a look with you. Ooh. Solid. He's looking pretty angry now. Well, there we go. That didn't take long at all. We pretty much did that in real time. So what was that? 10, 15 minutes to do the gaiters. Well, obviously I did have a few things finger tight, but either way, we just had a 12mm socket, an Allen head bolt, 6mm Allen wrench, probably 12mm and a 6mm to take the mudguard off. That was it. 15 minutes. So not at all scary. Brilliant. Cool. Let's put the front wheel in. Just giving it another wipe over. Because hopefully this will be the last time it goes in. Famous last words, I know, but over eager there. Spacer. Washer and nut. I'll leave that free for a minute and we'll put the brake on. So now that should go easily. Over the disc, if I can line it up. There we go. I should put some new thread lock on there, but I'll just nip them up for now. We'll run my torque wrench over all these important bolts. Which is kind of a euphemism for I can't be asked to look up all the values at this moment. Let's pull the brake. Nice. Good job. Okay, this front mudguard, you might remember, we shortened these metal side pieces. Bet I can't get this in there. There we go. Because it was sat right up here. But I do want it even lower. Because at the moment, it's there. But I think I'd like to get it not there. I think I'd like to get it about there. So we're too long in these side bits by about 1 inch. Now, they weren't easy to bend after I cut them, so I don't think I can cut them and bend them again. What I can do, I think if I put a kink in these, just a little bend, I can effectively make them shorter, or it'll be a disaster. But no, I think if I can just put a bend in these, I can get it down to the height I want. And we're also going to try the original mudguard back on, just to see if there's any mileage in using that as well. Or just even to know, for your benefit, if they fit over tyres like these. Straighten that up. Wish I had this vice when I did it the first time. So that's the original length. Cool. So it's made the effective length shorter. By how much? I'm not sure yet. Ooh, let's definitely go on lower. Pop some nuts on. Let's come back and have a look. Oh yeah, that's as low as I wanted it. Yeah, down like that, not floating too much. Yeah, it's not so obvious now what's going on. Let's pan you back a bit. This is the standard Meteor mudguard. This little integrated mud flap. And underneath, well, this is plastic. Underneath it's got this metal frame, which, as has been pointed out to me, no doubt acts as a fork brace. So it resists this fork moving independently of this fork, which makes the bike handle better, obviously. So instead of the fork legs sort of wandering around in their own little world, they can move together as one. And I might have just made a mighty compromise in that by doing what I did with that mudguard. Although thousands and thousands of bikes don't have such a fork brace and have always worked perfectly well. But I'm going to see if I can possibly work with this, or maybe even use this after I trim it and drill some holes in it. But let's just try it as standard for now, just to see if a standard Meteor mudguard will fit with these tyres. Now, it was a bit of a squeeze to get out, so with these gaiters on it, it might be a squeeze to get in. And I don't want to scratch everything. Yeah, I don't want to damage it. Let's just pop this off. Cool, so there's that brace from underneath the mudguard. It's quite a tight fit. No nuts on these because it's threaded itself. Let's try the original mudguard on top of that. A load of dirt underneath it. That's the bolt holes lined up. Let's have a look, stand back. So that's what the original mudguard looks like on the bike. It's unusual seeing that back on. Let me just take that in, have a think about it. But it definitely makes it look more roadstery because of the length. And actually the height is quite similar to what we'd moved the other one down to. A bit lower, definitely a bit lower. So I'm just wondering what that would look like now. Perhaps shortened with some holes drilled in it. Perhaps do that instead, or as well as. Okay, we'll think about that. So I'll pop up a picture of what that just looked like then before we put this on. So that's what I first did. And this is what it's gone to now. But with the benefit that it's got that fork brace in. But it looks quite roady. Road bikey. But maybe if I trim the back to be more equal with what's going on at the front. I put some holes in. I won't be able to use my special tool because this is plastic. And that metal thing is up here somewhere, so I can't put the holes too far in. But I think we'll probably try it. So I'm going to pop my previous solution on now, and we'll leave it at that for today. But we'll probably look at doing an alternative with this. This does feel like quite a soft plastic. It should trim quite easily, because there's not a special edge on there. There's a slight rolling of the lip. But of course the trimming will be at the back, where it's less obvious. So okay, I'm glad I saw that. I'll pop the other one on for now, and we'll move on to some other nice things. So after that little diversion, we can come further up the front and think about those bar end mirrors. So let's get those now and have a look. So with this bar end mirror kit, what we've got, the mirror itself on this mounting arm, so we can go that way up or under the bar. Obviously the mirror can either go outwards or inwards as well. And then we've got these little fittings to go in the bar. I haven't tried these yet. And if the bar was still threaded, like the original bar, there's the original bar, it's got a thread in the end already, we could just bolt those on. But these alloy bars obviously don't have a thread in them. What they send you is basically like an expanding anchor. And because these are alloy, they've got a much thicker wall size. You've got to be careful because a lot of bar end mirrors, the anchor they come with is designed for a much thinner steel handlebar. I just pull that part out. You see that anchor was never going to fit. So if you've got alloy bars and you're buying them, be careful. So this one comes with two sizes. One fits inside the other. Then when you tighten it up, they expand and grip the bar. So we just need the smaller size. So if you've had alloy bars fitted, you want to buy bar end mirrors, make sure you get the type that has suitable from 12mm, as well as the ones that say suitable from 17mm. Although if that happens and you think you're stuck in a corner, don't worry too much, because you can just buy some expanding bolts from a hardware store and use those, the ones you'd use in brickwork, because they're exactly the same really. So we don't need that. There's a couple of washers on here. So obviously when I tighten this up, I don't want this fitting to stop the grip turning. But because I was careful with the placement, that's not going to happen, he says. So I just use the one washer. So these little legs, hopefully, are going to expand when we tighten the bolts. Don't need my gloves on really. Things are clean now. Let's take them off. So tighten that. Legs come out, mirror doesn't fly off. Right, okay, let's get my driver ready. Obviously, I have to make it expand a bit, so obviously there's no way to hold this nut once it's in place. If we get that so it's tight. So I'm trying to get it tight, but not too tight. Let me dropping everything. Actually, before I go too crazy, how does that fit on there? Alright, I see. It's got a hinge and a bolt at the front. I can imagine wanging this on and then having to say to you, oh yeah, we should have put that on. So if that still works. So hopefully this is pulling that nut inwards and it's getting tighter and tighter. Let's hope this isn't a one-way trip. I don't want to break the threads, so I won't go nuts. Let's leave it there. Did they give me a little Allen key? Ooh, gave me a little Allen key. These were £24 on Amazon UK. Now, as I was saying earlier, let's make sure you can see, there's essentially 4 options for these. We could go above the bar with the mirror in, below the bar with the mirror out, or above the bar with the mirror out, or below the bar with the mirror in. Did we do that one? Must have done. So there we are. There's 4 permutations. Now, it would be nice to have them inwards, if only because with these wide bars, yeah, I don't want to add a lot of extra width. I do love filtering, or lane splitting, as some countries call it. And I don't want to be whacking these on anything. And underneath is cool. And to be honest, on a Meteor, I don't predict overtaking many things. So good mirrors. Let's sit on the bike. So if I go under, can I see anything? Well, I'm looking straight at the mirror, that's for sure. There's nothing impeding my eyesight. It's not a big mirror, but it's enough to see there's something there. If I go on the top, it's a great view, to be fair. If I went upside down there, is that still a great view? Yeah. I can't see my arm at all. And what was the other permutation? So that was alright, that was alright, that was alright. Oh yeah, that's completely useless. So below, I'm just looking through my arm. So below and out is completely useless. But every other way, I can see down. That's the most convenient, I think. Because that's alright, but it's kind of right down there. Although, it's up that high. Let's try it on top first. So that's just going to unhinge like that. And go on there like that. Could this be any more awkward to put on? And also we can lay it back like that if we need it. I don't think that's required. Well, I've just noticed there's another type of adjustment. Let's nip this up first. So there's another Allen bolt on the back. So if we wanted, we could come out. But for reasons stated before, there's no way I want that sticking out. Go in like that. I can't fit my hand under, so that's no good. Or we can go over the top. With the narrow end inwards. That looks a bit weird, but actually that's hitting my hand. Don't like that. Perhaps upwards. it's not in the way of my hand. What was the other alternative? Now the reason that's not fitting is because this arm is cammed upwards, so that would have to be the other way up if we were doing that. So that's underneath. Oh, I think that's the win at the moment. Because it looks like they're not even there. But do they hit the tank? Here we go. No. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave them like that. So that's really discreet. And you keeps them inwards. Let's put the other side on. Great, there's the top view. And it's like they're not really there, which is great. So we'll look around the other side. So we'll see what that ends up like on the road. That's super discreet. And I know I definitely don't want them sticking out, because the bike's wide enough as it is, and I like to be a slippery fish when I'm riding. Or wobbly shark. Not only, but also, for a couple of pounds, I got these mirror blanking plugs, because obviously there's a redundant mirror mount. We've got a hole there. There's some people mount cameras in. So you've got some little plugs. They metal? Ouch, yeah. Now one's reverse threaded, because one mirror is reverse threaded, and one's conventionally threaded, as you can kind of see there. I think that's so the wind force doesn't try and loosen your mirror. As the wind blows on the mirror on the left, it tightens your mirror up. Not the mirrors don't always come loose anyway. Doesn't want to thread in nicely. I'm sure it's the right way. Let's try the other side first. I think I've lost my mind. No, perhaps this is the conventional way. No, I'm sure it's not. Because this mirror would stick out this way, which means the wind would want to come this way, which would be anti-clockwise, and you wouldn't want that. No, so... No, I am talking nonsense. What am I talking about? This is a conventional thread. So the wind's sticking out. Oh, I'm confused. That works in my mind, But now I don't know what I'm thinking about. So left side was a conventional thread, which means the right hand side must be anti-clockwise. Yeah, that's so counterintuitive. See, in my mind, that shouldn't be like that. So I thought the mirror sticks out this way. Nice. And up at the front as well, I've got a pair of black levers to put on. That's the clutch. If you remember, it originally had a bent clutch lever. But we're going to go black, because that's what was available. And everything else is black. So that kind of works. So it's, usually it looks like we've got a locking nut underneath. And as well as that, the lever will also be threaded. So it's like a guarantee. The lever to come off, not only has your lock nut got to come off, but this bolt has got to unwind itself as well. I always get confused when I turn the spanner over. Where's anti-clockwise? There's anti-clockwise. 10mm nut underneath. Any washer? Not that I can feel. This one. It's got to be this one. Yes. That's quite well sprung by the master cylinder. I think that's just spring pressure holding that in place. Yeah. That's what pushes your brake light switch. There's your master cylinder. Grief. The 10mm nylock underneath. Well, hey. Nice. Okay, just the clutch. Clutch is probably going to be a little more annoying because the cable is actually attached to the lever. But shouldn't be bad. Okay, lock nut underneath. Yeah. So weirdly, what's going on there? It's 8mm this side, not 10. Eight millimeter. Obviously there's this locking ring And basically what we need to do is make this slot. There's a slot in the main carrier, and there's a slot in the lock nut, and there's a slot in the lever. I need to make all of that line up. I'm screwing this in, which will make the tension lower. Possibly not low enough, we might need to adjust it at the engine side. So just like a bicycle, slot, slot, slot. Hopefully it should just pop out. I'm sure it'll pop out, but will it go in? Okay. I need a bit more. No, we're all right. There we go. And out it comes. Cable's a bit dry, it's okay. So, new cable. Got to slide that into there. Then with a bit of a pull, I'll go in there. And that's gone back in that slot. Wow, that's really made a big difference. Getting rid of those silver levers. I don't want to tighten this too far, because I don't want to clamp this to pieces. Oh, see, my clutch adjustment's all gone to nonsense now. That's okay. Obviously, because we took the tension off that, I got this free play. But we'll wind that back. Too much. Just want about that much before you can feel it pulling the actual internals of the clutch. And the lock nut. That's strange. That wants to hit that mirror now. And it didn't before. Aha, because this clutch lever was bent. That's why. Cause and effect. So let's just move this a bit. I just need the slightest adjustment there. There we go. And just pull the other side back as well to match. Well, there you go. What do you think of that? Big improvement, isn't it? I love these black levers. And the bars, and the little caps, and the mirrors under here, and those gaiters. We'll have a proper look around in a sec. But yeah, it looks really different now, much better. So I hope you enjoyed that. And next week, what will we do? We'll probably look at putting this bike back together a bit, because underneath all the electronics are still out. I'm going to start reassembling it and leave the exhaust for the very last job, because after I do the exhaust, obviously I want to start it straight away, and so all the plumbing needs doing and all putting back together properly. So next time we'll start doing that. So I hope you enjoyed it this week. I did. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you can. And have a great week. See ya. Hello and welcome. I hope you enjoyed seeing the bars get fitted earlier in the week. Well, oh, fuck's sake.